Hi, this is Renee Bymark with ElderCircle. Looking forward to seeing everybody this month on ElderCircle Forum. We'll be interviewing Robyn Gunnerson about caregiving consulting. Hi, I'm Renee Bymark. I am the Executive Director of ElderCircle. Welcome to the ElderCircle Forum today. And I'd like to welcome Robyn Gunnerson, who is our caregiver specialist at ElderCircle. And we're going to speak today about Caregiver Consulting. Mm-hmm. Well, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So one of the things about caregivers, maybe just explain what a caregiver is.
Okay, so caregivers are those people who are caring for someone else, very simply stated, but it is deeper than that. Maybe they're someone, a family member or a neighbor or someone that you are always thinking about, maybe from a distance. There are distance caregivers, or you're living with. And maybe it's a spouse or a child or a father or mother. And so they are the ones that are helping with that person in their home or from a distance, like I said, and providing care, maybe getting to appointments, maybe it's just providing meals. Or it could be very much a higher level of care. Maybe it is doing the bathing, making sure the medications are taken or given at the right times, and going into appointments and following up there as well. Or maybe it's as deep as helping providing the bathing and the dressing and feeding as well. So caregiving is such a broad level, and I even consider those are parents that are taking care of kids as well. We have that sandwich generation as well, where we have people taking care of their children as well as their parents or grandparents yet. So caregiving is such a broad spectrum, but yet there are so many different levels of care that are given as well. It is so interesting, though, especially those that we work with in the ElderCircle spectrum of those in the senior age range, that they are providing that level of care and oftentimes are needing care themselves, and so at high risk. The very realistic statistic that is out there, though, is that more often than not, in that elderly range, the caregiver will be one who may die before the care receiver, because they have burned themselves to the ground, where they're providing everything that they have with their energy and physical and mental care to the care receiver, and that care receiver is surrounded with love and care and is watched over, but it's the caregiver who doesn't take time for their appointments and the care that they need. So that's where this thrust is looking at taking care of the caregiver and what we can help do for them.
So what are a couple of the things that, and I would assume as the elderly population, and it could be a husband-wife combo, and there's a caregiver, does the caregiver really understand the full aspect of what they're doing? I mean, because I'm assuming it kind of just starts and it's a slow progressive,
right,
and then the care becomes even more.
Right.
And then they're just already doing it, and there's really not a stop and how do I continue? I can't, but what things could that caregiver be looking for? I mean, and not even know it, I think.
Right. And I think you made an important point where it's something where it just gradually comes on. It's not something that happens overnight always. Maybe there was a stroke or a heart disease or something like that has gradually been coming on or happened, a sudden event. But the promises are made early on that I will never put you in a nursing home, I will never have other people help care, and I'm going to do it all. And those promises were made when they were younger.
Right.
Or when things were well and everyone was healthy and you could do that. So what starts sneaking up for the caregiver is loneliness, maybe. they aren't able to go out anymore and help do the things that they enjoy doing, or just even simple shopping or errands are a chore or become difficult because they don't feel that they can leave their loved one at home safely. So loneliness can become something, maybe they can't get themselves to the appointments, or they don't realize because they're so focused on their care receiver that they need some help, and they don't know how to ask for help, or they don't know that their health is failing necessarily either. And so it can just be very sudden or very slowly coming on, and all of a sudden now there's something happening, and now they're both in trouble, and they still feel stuck. Maybe they don't feel empowered to seek that out or know where they can go for help. So the program that we have at ElderCircle now is for caregiver consulting and coaching, and it's helping empower those caregivers to become stronger and to find their voice, or to know where the resources are so that they can help and seek for help too, for their care receiver as well as themselves.
So what are some of the things you look at for the caregiver when if they were to come to ElderCircle? What would they be looking for? I mean, what can you offer for them? What kind of options to help them maybe break it down into smaller bits instead of it being such a big picture?
It's such a big picture. So really the whole purpose of the caregiver coaching and consulting piece is finding what is their struggles. And so there is some assessments that we go through. Maybe it's compassion fatigue, maybe it's depression, maybe just in general, just the assessment that I have them start with initially will dig deeper. And then it's a person-centered goal. And what is your top, let's prioritize what things are needing some attention, and set some goals. And they're attainable goals. And then I'm alongside as a coach, holding them accountable to it, offering resources for them, and supporting them in making those goals. And so really it's driven by what they are looking for foremost. And it's just digging deeper into something that they just have pushed aside for so long. So sometimes it's just that stress and not knowing where to go or how to release it or how to take care of themselves again, and kind of training them to help look for self-care.
Well, I think one of the things that I can think of is as a caregiver, as a mom, or as that sandwich generation, you think about those things that you give up to continue your caregiving, whether it's a weekend to go visit your parents to take care of things if they're not local, and you give up all those other things that you as a caregiver really could use in your life to help. So I like the idea of somebody holding you somewhat accountable for those pieces that I think are important for your own personal health.
Right.
It's hard to continue that caregiving.
Right.
So a lot of it's getting to know the caregiver, coming in, you'd visit with them. So how can we help them as a caregiver, knowing that they're caring for a care receiver? Do we have some options? What are the kind of options that are out there for caregivers, for people? They can't leave somebody at home, or different options for them. So we have a memory loss caregiver support group at ElderCircle. They meet the second Tuesday of the month from 1 to 2 at the Active Living Center in the Y. And in February, March, we'll be starting a support group for those who do not have memory loss. So maybe it's other health diseases that you are taking care of, someone in the home. And so that is going to be opening as well. And so that's just a time to come and realize that there are others in the community that are having the same struggles, and to partner and say, oh, what are you doing for this? Or how could I help do this better? And so I've worked with that support group in the past, and I'm looking forward to getting on board again with that and helping those caregivers be supported with each other, as well as offering tools within the meeting of saying, what are you doing, and holding each other accountable, or what has happened that works well for you. And so that is one of the support systems. During that time, we do offer the Adult Day Center at the ElderCircle at the Y, an opportunity for the care receiver to come for that hour as well, or other times. So that would be a resource as well, that they could come 1-2 days a week, or just for that meeting initially too. There'd be a little bit of intake that we need, but definitely we need to have a safe place for those care receivers to go. And so that's a wonderful opportunity that is open to the community. And then looking at other resources in the community and seeing what other supports are there.
throughout the community that we can offer, or is it some education on maybe we have something that will help your home be safer in your home, and so we could have a referral made to have a consult with someone to talk about safety if you were worried about that loved one escaping with memory issues or medications or those kinds of things. So it's really just so individually based on the caregiver and what those needs are, and then helping support them and helping empower them to become a better caregiver themselves, but more importantly to fill up their support and their compassion that they can keep giving. Once they give everything, there's nothing left to give.
And do you find a lot of caregivers find it hard to give up that piece that, this is their responsibility, and now I'm thinking of having somebody else come into my home while I go do something, or I'm thinking of taking my care receiver to an adult day stay so that they, are in a safe place, but yet then I can go. That I would assume there's some guilt with that.
There is, and we definitely would talk about that. And again, I would just drive the point home is that if you're not taking care of yourself, who's going to take care of you? Right. You have to be the one that takes care of yourself so that you can give back and give more. So there's other services, again, like the respite even. So someone can come into your home or do some homemaking or other skills and or just give you that time once or twice a week or so to get out so you can get groceries or get the things that you need and feel like you can still function in the community as well, or get to some fun groups that you enjoyed or friends. Isolation becomes so difficult.
So how often do the support groups meet?
Once a month.
Once a month.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so oftentimes I encourage the people that attend the group too, and just say, you guys can share your information and connect with each other during the week or outside of the group as well. So I really encourage that as well.
So some of the other pieces that I would assume that would happen with a caregiver is, you talked about the statistics that a lot of times the caregiver passes before the care receiver due to the health. I know we had talked before about some of the statistics about where those pieces can, how do I want to ask that? What are the other supports, not only just for the caregiver but the care receiver, to alleviate, so some in-home, not only just for the caregiver, but there's care receiver can get some in-home help that actually alleviates for the caregiver some of that things. I think about bathing, some of that, if you're talking about seniors, the physical health of that, capabilities of being able to help somebody in and out of a bath or things like that, just the physical abilities.
Right.
So that's another piece for that, and kind of probably understanding from the caregiver as to what they can and cannot do, and finding those resources for them.
Right. Or perhaps it's just doing a little bit of training so that they can do it better, and so they're not injuring themselves too. That would be the opportunity as well, or some strengthening maybe that they need for both the caregiver and care receiver too. So, but definitely to have some of those supports that it will alleviate the whole care upon the caregiver would be ideal. And they really are, and you look in the grand scheme of things, it's really minimal cost when you look at the opportunities that are out there. And so many insurances or sliding fee scales based on income is available as well. So it's so worth checking into.
And that was one of my questions too, is how does this, how does somebody pay for something like this? What are the opportunities? Are the support groups, is there a charge for those?
Sure. Yeah, there's no charge for the support groups. And so they're just to come and be there and be yourself. And we have Kleenexes. So it's a time just to really be yourself and let things out, and for healing and transition to become a stronger person as you go, and to know that you're not alone. I think that's the biggest thing I hear a lot of the support groups is, oh, I'm not alone. There's other people that are going through this too, or maybe they're going through something far more than what I am doing, and just that appreciation. So both the support groups are free of charge. For the adult day, there is a minimal charge if it was just for that hour, and we definitely can look at that and work with individuals as they need. And even those in-home support services, we can look at the insurances, or if there's different services throughout the county that would be helpful too, or based on income, a sliding fee scale. So.
Okay. Okay. So now you're going to meet with a caregiver and go through some of the assessment that you would say as a person-centered, so really developed around that person as to their needs, their own individual, the care receivers, the caregivers' needs, and how that will happen. What would be some of the things that you kind of see that would probably come up from that conversation of some of the needs, and maybe just one or two things that you might help with that?
Couple of different things that I would work on and see, and of course it's dependent upon the person and individual, but sometimes it's just being empowered for some communication skills on how to talk with the doctor and how to talk maybe with the care receiver if there's some dementia or if there's a lot of anger and bitterness or guilt, dealing with some of those challenging emotions and behaviors that we've just accumulated because of the pressures of stress. We also talk about stress management and how we can help alleviate and bring some of that stress down and how to make that better. But of course, again, it goes back to the individual and what's attainable and realistic and setting those goals. So, and maybe it's looking at their health. And my background is occupational therapy and being trained as a health coach too, and so that kind of brings around that whole person and you know, what can we do to help support you as the caregiver to make you healthier and improve your well-being. So it's more of a mental and emotional and physical state, and looking at all those components and bringing it all together. Sometimes, like I said, it could be that communication of how do I talk with someone who has dementia, and how as the stages progress. So I've had a lot of training in nursing home settings and with seniors, and for more than 20 years I've worked with a lot of different ages of and abilities and physical abilities and mental abilities for seniors, and so might be able to offer some insight there or just some helpful hints. And so it's not a huge program, and it's not like there's lots of homework or anything, but it's just something to help build yourself and to take care of yourself first. There is also opportunities to work with a family, and there's lots of dynamics in a family, and sometimes taking care of someone is not something that comes naturally or easily for people.
You're not usually trained.
Not trained, or maybe you were abused by the care receiver over the years, or there wasn't a strong relationship and it wasn't a loving environment. And so I've worked with individuals as well where it's a struggle to be there every day, and it's very painful and hard. And so working through some of that is another opportunity as well. So
you had shared a statistic with me about the cost of the value of caregivers who are giving care in the home.
Yes. So I recently saw 1 in 6 Minnesotans are caring for someone in their home. And they equivalent, and of course they come up with statistics of what the cost of care is and the individuals and that kind of thing, but they are estimating that it's triple the amount of the Minnesota deficit is the cost of that caregivers are providing for people in their homes. So it's huge value and return. And of course, that time would never be taken, you know, you can't give that time back and that investment and love that you've given to the care receiver. But consider if those people that we're caring for in our homes or in, you know, as neighbors or those kinds of things with supports. I mean, people are just providing groceries or appointments and driving. And so they're giving care. And if we didn't have that, the amount that would just be on our economy would just be devastating, I would say, because it is so huge in comparison. So that is something that is so underrated and invaluable, I think, as well, of when you look at the cost and the savings there.
Right.
But I think on the flip side, you can't ever measure the cost that it takes on the toll of someone's life either. And the energy and the drain and the stress. And even though you have agreed to do this, it's still never easy.
Right. And dealing with it.
Yeah.
Now you kind of had a little analogy with a glass of water.
Yes.
And I know we don't have one in front of you.
Yep.
But
we'll pretend that there's a glass here that's about half full. And so a professor walked into the classroom and said, "I have a glass of water." And everyone is, you know, assumed in the class, they thought, oh, you know, how much is it in there? And is it half empty? Is it half full? And she says, no, actually, it doesn't matter how much is in here, but it matters how long I hold this glass. So if I hold this glass of water for an hour or two, I'm going to feel it for a little, it'll gain in intensity and weight. If I hold it for several hours or a day, it's going to really become very heavy. And if I hold it for longer than that, it's going to be just unbearable, and I'll need medical attention, just to continue to hold a glass of water. And that's the same thing as well. She said, at night, you need to set that glass down. And so we also need to set down our burdens or our demands that we place upon ourselves. Sometimes we place those higher demands and expectations upon ourselves than what the care receiver is giving, or there is a lot of care that you are giving. And so it's learning to set down that glass at the end of the day or at the end of the week or whenever that period of time comes. And sometimes people don't ever feel like that time ever comes. And so it's putting in perspective and taking those baby steps and just appreciating what we have today. And that's quite often what I will share with the memory loss caregiver support group. And I said, we don't ever know what's going to happen either to you or to your loved one, in the next day or 10 days, in the next year, because it's always so daunting to know how fast will the progression of the disease or the memory loss go. And so that's such a heavy burden that they carry. And I said, but we have today. We only have today. And then we have tomorrow. And of course, we're going to be wise and with knowledge that is power as well, and knowing what the potential things that can happen, but anything can change at a moment's notice, and we don't know how each person is going to react or how each person is going to move forward in their disease process. So it is so important to be able to set that glass down and learn how to do that, because it's not something that comes naturally. And especially for women, I think many of us do have a natural tendency, and there are many men that are wonderful caregivers too. And I see so many people doing so many more things than I ever dreamed that I could possibly do. And I've been a professional and personal caregiver on both levels. But I feel that as you get older, you're not as strong and all strong in all of your emotions and health. And so more importantly, let's learn again and support each other on how to put that glass down.
So if somebody is interested in learning about the Caregiver Support Group or the Memory Support Group or anything about the Caregiver Consulting health coaching, how would they get a hold of you?
Call directly to ElderCircle, and they would connect me. I'm not there every day of the week, so just leave a message and I will return that call and we'll set up a time to meet. Ideally, the first meeting I like to meet with just the caregiver alone, and so make an arrangement to have that care receiver taken care of, and we can again meet with people to talk about options for that. But and then it can be several sessions afterwards, and but it's not like a lengthy process. It's not like you're seeing me every week and we're moving on, but it's really just giving you those tools and empowering you to make those choices to move forward and to care better for yourself. Yeah. Okay. So.
And you also had a caregiver, I think it was a little poem or a little saying that I was hoping you could the Bill of Rights, that if you could read that.
Sure. So this is the Caregiver Bill of Rights, and I felt this was so powerful when I first was doing the health or the caregiver coaching and learning this. And so I'll just read that for you all, because you all have this right. As a caregiver, I have the right to take care of myself. This is not an act of selfishness. It will give me the capability of taking better care of my loved ones. I have the right to seek help from others, even though through my loved ones, or though my loved ones may object. I recognize the limits of my own endurance and strength. I have the right to maintain facets of my own life that does not include the person I care for, just as I would if he or she were healthy. I know that I do everything that I reasonably can for this person, and I have the right to do some things just for myself. I have the right to get angry, to be depressed, and to express other difficult feelings occasionally. I have the right to reject any attempts by my loved one, either conscious or unconscious, to manipulate me through guilt and or depression. I have the right to receive consideration, affection, forgiveness, and acceptance for what I do for my loved ones, for as long as I offer these qualities in return. I have the right to take pride in what I am accomplishing and to applaud the courage has sometimes taken to meet the needs of my loved one. I have the right to protect my individuality and to make my life for myself that will sustain me in the time when my loved one no longer needs my full-time help. And the last one is, I have the right to expect and demand that as new strides are made in finding resources to aid physically and mentally impaired persons in our country, that similar strides will be made towards aiding and supporting caregivers. And that is written by Joe Horn, is the Caregivers Bill of Rights. And so this is something that I want to give to all of the people that I would meet with as well, because I think it's very empowering to know that they have
some rights
as well. Often we abandon those.
And it touched a little bit on people who even lose their care receiver.
Right.
They still have a lot of things that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about that before too, how long that takes. If you've been caring for somebody for a year, how long does it take for your body and physical, emotional to recover from that year long of just 1 year long of caregiving.
Right.
So a lot of good information. And so I really thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
And enjoyed visiting with you.
Thanks.